Basketball is a sport in constant evolution. It is the perfect meeting point between mathematics and creativity, fundamentals and innovation, knowledge and intuition. It is the combination of all these elements that makes the search for the perfect formula such a difficult and relative objective. One that has driven some of the greatest minds throughout the history of the game, people who achieved remarkable results, but often through very different systems, shaped by profoundly different eras in many respects. Today, advanced statistics are entrusted with a great deal of responsibility in the pursuit of the perfect system, and this has undoubtedly led basketball to improve in terms of efficiency and effectiveness. However, there are still many steps to be taken before reaching the perfect formula, assuming one even exists. One of these crucial steps may have been taken in recent years, with the implementation of a futuristic, almost extreme way of playing that is delivering significant results. I'll break it down in detail after the intro. What I'm going to talk about today is called relentless basketball, a basketball philosophy whose name was coined by Francesco Tabellini, the current head coach of Paris basketball, but which, albeit with some variations, has been adopted by highly successful coaches in the very recent past, such as Thomas Isolo, current head coach of the Memphis Grizzlies, Thiago Splitter, current head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, and Pedro Martinez, current head coach of the surprising Valencia. In this video, I will mainly focus on the most recent examples, namely those of Tabellini and Martinez, but you can find an in-depth video on Isolo's system in the cards up here and as the very first video on this channel, as well as a detailed breakdown of Splitter's offensive approach on my Patreon account. The link is in the description, where you can also find other useful and interesting material. The relentless basketball system is a philosophy that aims to eliminate any kind of pause within the game, especially the moments of disconnection between defense and offense, and vice versa. It is built on three core principles: aggressive defense, rebounding dominance, and pace of play. To implement these principles, a number of tactical adjustments are adopted. To achieve an aggressive defensive approach, Paris and Valencia often rely on full-court press, a strategy that forces the opponent to waste valuable seconds at the beginning of the possession and, in some cases, to commit turnovers. During the full-court press, the defense may choose to employ the so-called run and jump, in which the defender closest to the ball handler sprints to trap the ball handler and jumps to take away the passing lane toward the player he has just left open. Shortly after, the defender originally responsible for the ball handler usually executes a peel switch, rotating to pick up the offensive player left free by his teammate who stepped up to trap. But it depends a lot on the situation the defense is facing. Another cornerstone of this system's defense is the hedge-and-plug coverage in pick-and-roll situations. It is very similar to a classic hedge defense, or as it is often called in Europe, a show, where the big steps up to apply pressure on the ball handler before recovering to his original assignment. In this specific coverage, however, the key difference is that the guard who was initially defending the ball handler drops back slightly to take away the passing lane to the screener, thus eliminating the short roll option. But the defense has to be aggressive even when they don't want to concede a fast break. Tabellini himself often stresses how important it is to put pressure on the rebounder to make the outlet pass as hard as possible.
Staying in the tag and putting true pressure on the rebounder, it's the best way to fix someone else's mistake. For example, if the rebounder is a good passer, but his own defender, the guy that was tagging him up, it's putting true pressure on him. Like he's really attacking the ball with the arms, with the hands, like physically attacking the ball, then he's not going to be able to pitch the ball ahead in case there's a leaker because someone fucked up the tagging up. And that's extremely important for me.
Tiro, ma il blu prende rimbalzo, questo giocatore che stava facendo tagging up, questo, ok? Mentre là c'è un leak, mentre io faccio leak. E quindi c'è un momento in cui c'è un vantaggio qui c'è un vantaggio, ok? Perfetto. Se quel giocatore lì che prende rimbalzo, anziché essere libero o non pressato e quindi in grado di lanciare come se fosse Tom Brady, ok? Se questo giocatore qui quando prende la palla, già qualcuno che gliela cerca, non lancerà la palla. Non lancerà. Ci sono tantissime situazioni, anche a un livello diciamo medio-alto, in cui c'è un giocatore libero, ma grazie al lavoro degli altri giocatori quel vantaggio non viene sfruttato dalla squadra perché viene disattivato, disinnescato dal lavoro di aggressività degli altri.
Overall, this philosophy is built around high-risk, high-reward decisions. Strategies like the tag-up, run-and-jump, and hedge-and-plug coverage are not the statistically optimal choices, but they are the ones that best serve the effectiveness of this philosophy. The reason is simple and fundamental. Either you reap the high reward, or you concede a dynamic advantage to the opponent. At that point, the opponent has two options. They can slow the offense down to avoid playing into the hands of Tabellini and Martinez, wasting that advantage and turning the strategy into a low-risk, high-reward outcome for the defense. Or they can try to exploit the temporary dynamic advantage by speeding the game up, ending up exactly in the kind of game Paris and Valencia want to play. We can now get to the second principle of the relentless basketball philosophy, which is the rebounding dominance. Paris and Valencia achieved that mainly thanks to the tagging up strategy, which consists of all 5 players who run to the backs of their opponents on an offensive shot, pushing them into the paint, and staying matched up with those players in transition defense. It's kind of the opposite of boxing out in terms of positioning, and it works for Tabellini and Martinez because their teams shoot a lot from distance, meaning that there'll be a lot of long rebounds. We can see that in this possession. After the shot is taken, the shooter's teammates attack the basket and match up with their opponents, pushing them under the rim. Here it's even more evident. No one is running back. Everyone is focused on rebounding the ball. Same for Paris. Everyone is matched up and ready to fight for the board. And the third principle is the pace of the play, which is usually extremely high. The motto of this principle is win the race, and it happens by beating your own man in the first steps of the transition. To do that, when you get the ball back, all 4 of your teammates have to forget about the ball and make the first 3 steps of their runs as fast as they can. This way, they create positive momentum and they run faster. Teams usually establish proper spacing first and then initiate the offense. Within this philosophy, the priority is continuous attacking, even while the spacing is still being formed. Coach Tabellini often highlights how important it is to catch the ball while running to the attacking end of the court. So much that he even created a no-catch zone, which can be identified as the area below the extended free throw line.
We are really encouraging our point guards to receive the ball higher than the free throw line extended. It's extremely important, and we are trying as much as possible to run through the pass and, really have a go catch, also full court, and exploiting the dynamic advantage. And then obviously there are people that are running in front of the ball, and then as much as possible, we are trying to pitch the ball ahead.
Fare un passaggio di apertura velocissimo ad un giocatore che riceve il passaggio di apertura molto alto. Abbiamo sempre parlato di zona di non ricezione, come la zona del tiro libero esteso, cioè tutte le nostre ricezioni teoricamente sarebbero dovute avvenire al di sopra del tiro libero esteso, e nel momento in cui il rimbalzista scende con la palla in mano ci sono già 4 giocatori che stanno correndo nelle proprie posizioni cercando di prendere un vantaggio dinamico, e quindi il playmaker che anziché ricevere la palla andando verso il rimbalzista la prende andando verso la metà campo d'attacco, la prende al di fuori della no catch zone, quindi alta, e con gli altri giocatori che corrono poi è più possibile buttare la palla avanti, attaccare 1 contro 1 una difesa che non è ancora schierata.
But these things are exhausting for players who are on the court for normal stints of time. That's why Tabellini and Martinez's substitution patterns are comparable to the ones utilized in hockey. In fact, seeing a 5-player substitution isn't rare, especially for Paris. To prove that, here's the substitution pattern of an ordinary team like Olympiacos. You can see clear patterns, such as the starters playing in the initial minutes, the bench starting the second quarter, then the starters back in the first minutes of the third, and them finishing the games. You can see way more variance in Valencia's rotations. You'll only know who'll play in the last 5 minutes of the games. But Paris's one is pure balance. They have extremely long rotations made by short stints, with each player asked to leave it all on the floor in their minutes, knowing they'll get back to rest very soon. Knowing that, this graph certainly doesn't come out as a surprise, since Paris and Valencia are very low on average stint length and standard deviation in their rotations. And the one described is a successful trend this Paris team is following through the years with coaches who share similar philosophies, now making it more extreme than ever. Some other key things to do to improve the pace of the play are then making crisp passes, knowing what to do with the ball before receiving it, and always be quick with the decision-making. As Tabellini says, making quick decisions is more important than being precise in this system. But there are more tactical aspects that go beyond the 3 key ones analyzed so far. For example, in the relentless basketball system, screens aren't usually ordinary pick and rolls, but they're more like slips. Pedro Martinez uses this type of role a lot, especially in broken plays instead of isolating. But Paris uses it too, often after other type of actions such as ghost screens or Iverson cuts. In this play, there's even a slipping stagger after a ghost screen. Speaking about ghost screens, they're heavily utilized by both Paris and Valencia to create confusion among the 2 defenders involved into the action, especially if they're supposed to switch. This action does not only give advantage to the screener, but also to the ball handler. The perfect way to execute this play is when the corners are filled. Another type of screen very utilized by Tabellini and Martinez is the Verjaw screen. It's an action in which the screener flips the angle of the screen at the last moment to mess up the defensive coverage. This is an interesting variation of the typical Verjaw action. It starts as an ordinary Spain leak with Herrera as a leaker, but Dicassi changes the side of the pick. But in general, utilizing this type of screen on a broken play, just like slips and ghost screens, is a good idea. I personally find it way better than isolating, with the exception of rare cases. I've introduced the Spain leaks earlier, and they're part of the relentless basketball system too. They're similar to Spain pick and rolls, but the third man doesn't screen. He just lifts outside the arc. Paris and Tabellini in particular use them a lot. Another play in Tabellini and Martinez's playbooks is the blind pig. It consists of a three-person backdoor action in which the ball handler passes to a big, who passes to a guard running by him toward the hoop. It's a popular play that was part of Phil Jackson's triangle offense, utilized by Steve Kerr and many other coaches still to this day. Both Paris and Valencia have an Iverson set in their playbooks. Let's see some plays. This is called Iverson leak. While this is Iverson reject. This is another example of the Iverson leak, an easy yet very effective play. And this is Iverson pin down. The last concept I want to introduce before getting to the last brief tactics is the wheel offense. The wheel offense is a continuity system where every drive or pick and roll triggers a circular rotation of all other players not directly involved into the ongoing action. It was recently made famous by Noah LaRoche, a Miami Heat assistant coach that recently worked for the Grizzlies. The wheel offense keeps every defender engaged on his defensive assignment, and consequently makes helping and stunting a lot harder. Moreover, when the action develops through the middle, it usually triggers a 45 cut or, more often, a baseline cut, whereas on a baseline drive it leads to an OKC cut, which is a banana cut coming from the central area of the floor. Lastly, let me add some last few key aspects of the relentless basketball philosophy. First, the stampede catch, where a player catches the ball while already in motion and running through the pass. Catching the ball while already running creates a huge momentum advantage over a static defender, and it encourages the attacker to make decisions before receiving. Then, in transition, the players are encouraged to attack the rim off the ball and execute a brush cut to stretch the defense. It's also important to fill the corners to force the defense to cover as much space as possible. And to set high pick and rolls to take an early advantage to exploit on a bigger portion of the court. Two last things that Paris does is utilizing Gortat screens, where the screener, after an initial pick and roll, immediately seals or screens their own defender. And then flooding the strong side on defense, particularly when the ball is in the post or in static positions in one of the two wings. It's another way to take a high risk to speed the game up. It's calculated and it forces the offense to play frenetically. Tabellini summarized his philosophy with this sentence: "It's better to tell someone not to do something and having him overdoing than telling him to do something." Relentless basketball is continuous action, a controlled chaos that is taking over basketball. Statistics prove so, since Paris and Valencia are both in the top 5 in EuroLeague for pace, offensive rebound percentage, and turnover force percentage. And that was all for today. It's been a long video, but I tried my best to summarize and give you the best insights on this interesting and futuristic basketball. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Feel free to support my work in any way you'd like, and to check the links in the description for more content. I'm active on a lot of different platforms. Thank you for your time. Stay safe, especially in this tough period for the whole world, and see you in the next video.